Hello and welcome to the weekly review. It is Saturday the 6th of May and I'm going to use EdgeRater to go through the week's action in stocks and take a look using some of the templates. So let's get started. I'm going to be focusing on my list of stocks that are trading above $1 and average of 250,000 shares, all stocks in trading in the US exchanges. So there's about 3,000 of those. And the first thing I'm going to run here is my good, bad, and ugly template. On the right hand side, you can see what I actually have in my favorites list. And these are kind of the things that I like to run every day. Good, bad, ugly gives me a good overview of what's been happening for the day, week, month, year, and so on. In play gives me some more in-depth about what's been happening over the last week or two. Free parking tells me where stocks are at their 50-period moving average, where the moving average is sloping up. Look for good low-risk entries here. I like to do the linear regression analysis. That gives me an idea of stocks that are moving up and that are towards the lower end of their channel. I like to look at the seasonality with seasonality now. I like to look at the Dave McMullen template, which is the moving average cross with also seasonality coming up. And then I am not going to be looking at these two. That's not something I would do in a weekly review. So just these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 templates. And I'll get started with good, bad, ugly. So let's do the run. You see always when you hit run, the progress indicated on the lower left. As it churns through these stocks, does all the necessary processing and calculations, and at the end of this it's going to show me a report. So it's just finished. The report has now come up on the other screen, so bring it over here. And so let's just take a look quickly at what's been happening for the past day and week. So current periods, day. Let's sort by day. So this is Friday, obviously. The last day of trading was Friday. So we can see that CRC, number 1, ECR, AAOI. If you were trading at all on Friday, these would have been popping up on your lists in Thinkorswim, I'm sure. They've probably looked familiar to you. So we can take a look at some of the charts here. And actually the first one at the top of the list is ALT. And that seems a little bit extreme, so it's probably a stock with some bad data. Let's just take a look. It pops up on a chart here, and yeah, I'm not quite sure the story of this stock, if that is a real move or not. Quite possibly it is, in which case that is quite excessive. Anyway, let's put that one aside. Don't know there's much we can do with that for now. And then we'll come down to the next one on the list, which is OLED. This had actually popped up during our George and my trading workshop we did, the Pacific Northwest trading workshop. We did that a couple of weekends ago, and this was on our list to watch. So we were actually looking at it in around this area down here with a watch if it broke above highs, which it did over here, and then we had this gap and run on Friday. So people at the training workshop were aware of this one. I'm going to choose a layout here that's more appropriate. Right now I'm looking at a linear regression, and I think I'm going to choose to look at, let's see what we can look at here. I could take a look at the free parking layout, just because that has the 50-period moving average on. It's quite a clean looking chart. I might just add in volume here. I quite like to look at volume, and I might remove these two areas just to clean it up a little bit. So take out RSI and take out ADX. So here, and I might just save this layout so that I can access it easily in the future. So I can do that by clicking on the save chart layout, and I'll just say clean. It's a clean chart. Okay, I'm not going to link to template layouts because I just want to use this particular chart as I go through. And now I can just quickly scroll through my list of stocks that made big moves on Friday. So these are things that, these are starting to move potentially, and these are things that we might want to pay attention to in the upcoming days and weeks. Okay, let's just quickly scan through here and see what's on the list and what they look like. Okay, so there we go. I think we had Herbalife as well at the workshop. So we can also do a reverse scan. What performed worse on Friday, and we can quickly go through that list too. This one would probably come up on the free parking, which is where stocks pull back to their rising 50-period moving average. So maybe something to watch in here. But I'm just trying to right now just get a sort of quick scan of the market, sort of see the behavior of these stocks. Okay, so that's for the day. This is a review of the week. So what I would really be interested in focusing in is the week to date. So let's do that from top down. We have this stock here. You may have seen this if you were trading this week. I'm not quite sure if this is a real move, quite possibly. You also have to kind of sometimes, if you see huge moves like this, sometimes you just have to go and check your data, maybe go to Yahoo, check on Yahoo, see if that is actually real. Because what would sometimes happen is you could end up with a split or a reverse split, and it can cause this type of gap to appear in a chart if the data hasn't been back adjusted, which it should be. So it's just something to be aware of. That may actually be a real move. Okay, and Alt appears in here, obviously for the week to date. Angie's list. Okay, that's been having some big gap, followed with huge volume, followed by quite excess over the average volume over the following few days, and is now at the top. Looks like it's broken out, almost broken out through the highs from over here. So that, and then we're obviously at a resistance level here. But something to watch, I guess, if it breaks above these levels on volume. So potentially look for low risk entries here. So things that you find of interest, or I find of interest on a weekly review, I might just click on my add to favorites. And if I do it from the template report, then it's going to actually tell me or store the information about where the stock came from. So it came from this good, bad, and ugly template. And I'll just put a comment in here saying, good week at resistance. So that's just going to be a note that's going to be in here, so I can review that next week, see what's been going on with the stock. And if I'm trading in the week, maybe I'm going to look at that list and look for low risk entries or actionable items that would be tradable during the week. So let's take a look down here. This looks interesting. For the week, we've had a rise in volume. Volume has been increasing over several days. You've got this step up in volume to a quite high volume that occurred on Friday. Break above the 50-period moving average, and but quite a pullback from the intraday high on Friday down to about midway of the range. So, okay, something to watch. It's now above the 50. Obviously, if stocks are going to rise, they're going to stay above their 50-period moving average. And it's come from some highs over here. And now there's some interest here, or maybe there's some short covering. But anyway, this is something to pay attention to. I'll just stick that quickly on my watch list. Add to favorites, and I'll just say watch for LRE, low risk entry. Let's stick that in there. Okay, what else are we going to look at down here? So we've got a few other things coming up. Okay, this obviously has made a good move for the week, 48% move week to date right now it's quite a distance from 50 period moving average. Also had this pullback from the high. I'm not so interested in that, but I'm just going to quickly scroll through here and get a feel for what's been happening with these names here. Okay. You can see what I'm doing. I'm just using my cursor key on my keyboard to go down through the stocks. If I find something of interest, then I can make a note. So health insurance in HIIQ actually broken above resistance. So there's some volume in here. We had a break above the 50 period moving average. 50 period moving average is now turned up, and you now have a break above this resistance level over here. So that could be something of interest. It did close above the resistance over here, so I'm going to add that to my list. So close above resistance. Okay, add that in there, and just move on. Okay, I don't like this so much. There's all these gaps in here, a bit sporadic, so I'm going to move on from here. Okay, interesting, these all look very extended. OLED, as I mentioned before, that did appear on the daily on Friday, but we had picked this out back over here at the trading workshop. So quite a few people from the workshop were in this stock as it broke above this resistance level here. So a lot of people got this nice move here on Friday with this gap. So that's good. Still worth watching. Still strong. Lots of volume came in. Big gap, and then closed towards the high of the day. So still good. And that's I should just add that to this list and just say so still good. I'll say okay, that's good. Alright, let's quickly move on. So we're taking a look at the good, bad, ugly. We're taking a look at a few of the stocks on the top of this list. These are stocks that are moving, and I'm going to close this report down. I don't want to save the changes. The only changes I made to that were changing the sort order. So I'm now going to move down to my in-play template. I'm going to look at in-play in the last 10 days. 10 trading days, that would be 2 weeks. So we're going to get some of the same names come up here, but we're also going to find stocks in this list that didn't necessarily close at their highs to make percentage gains, but they have a high during that period of time that made a maximum play during that time. So these are things that are definitely moving, and things that are moving are tradable if you can find good entries. So let's take a look here, and we have this one comes up again, max play 9,000%. Alt obviously appears again. These things will appear in multiple lists, multiple reports. Okay, so we're looking at max plays. Here volume, average volume, let's say, prior to this last couple of weeks was quite low. Now some interest has come in here with this volume, and you've shot above the 50 period moving average. Very low price stock. Let's roll this chart back a bit. Okay, so it may be worth watching, but it does seem a little extended. So I'll add it to the favorites, and I'll say watch, but extended. Okay, watch but extended, and save that. Okay, let's go down the list a bit further. This is an interesting one, and this is an example of what max play actually gives you. So this didn't appear on the gain for the week because it ended up pretty much close to where it started for the week, but it did have a move during the week. So you can see that it went to a high of about 370 and then came back down to close at about 130, 140, But the maximum play was 300%. If you were able, during that 2-week period or 10 days, because this report was run over for the last 10 days, if you were able to get the lowest low as a buy and the highest high as a sell, which is impossible to do, by the way, this is the maximum play in that move. So, but these are always things to keep track of, because the things that have moved tend to move again in the future, in the very near future. So if you're looking for tradable stocks and you're looking for low risk entries, these are things to keep track of. So I would say here I'm going to add this to my favorites list. You'll notice this time it's, the source of this is now the in-play template. The close on Friday was 141. It's added all that information in for me, and I'm just going to say on the move. And just a little note for the future when I review this list. Okay, so I'm going to come back down through here. Workhorse, we saw that before. And if I open my favorites list, did I actually add this in? Yes, I did. So it's in here already. It came from the good, bad, ugly, and I said look for a low risk entry in here. Okay. So I'll scroll down, I'll come down through the list, find something. Andy's list, we already saw that. So a lot of these things will appear again. Okay, and this looks somewhat interesting in that you've had a move cross above the 50 over here. The 50 period moving average is now rising, and you've now got this another burst in here, rising 50 still. It is somewhat extended from the 50, but on Friday it had a reasonable day. Volume is not much higher than the previous sell-off days, but had a reasonable day on Friday. So we're talking about a low price stock here. So and what you can do on here is just see what is the growth rate. Say take it from this base low down here, and say the growth rate is actually pretty high. Linear growth rate of 1,000%, exponential growth rate of 275,000%. So yes, that's very high. And by the way, the exponential growth rate is just indicating that if you were looking at this on a logarithmic chart and you extended the linear regression line over to the right, the annualized growth rate there on the logarithmic chart would be that percentage term. So that's very high. This is moving, and I'm just going to add this to the list, add to favorites. So I'll say rising 50, good day Friday, and high growth rate. Okay, save that. Okay, let's come back down. We saw this one already. Lots of gaps. This is below the 50. This is, we'll just come down through here. EXAS, that was a big name on Friday. I know a few people were in this stock on Friday. Had a nice move and closed towards the high of the range. So also right now extended. So maybe a little tricky to buy at this point, but potential for looking for low risk entries or opening range breakouts potentially if you can find a low risk, where you're risking a smaller amount to make a larger amount, where your stops are. You could have potential in here, but it is obviously quite a ways above the 50 period moving average. So I'll add it to the list because it was in play for sure on during the last 10 days. So let's just add that and maybe look for LRE. That might be hard to do, but let's save that. Save, look for LRE. Okay, I'm just going to stop here on this particular report. Going to close this report down. Going to run a couple of others. I might not run all of the ones that I mentioned before, but let's skip for now free parking. Let's look at the moving average cross with upcoming probability or seasonality. And I'm just going to quickly run this. This is going to be the last template I run for this this weekend review. It's just a very quick review. And obviously, if you have more time, you can go and run all the templates that you like and make the notes as you see fit. But this is my kind of shortened review. Okay, so I've got my report here, and I'm looking for here. I'm going to be looking for stocks that have had a 820 moving average cross. So if that happened today, and today being the last trading day, which is Friday, it will say yes in this column over here. And it's already sorted by the yeses. Okay, so, and the number is how many days since the cross, or bars since the moving average cross. So if it says yes today, bars since is 1. And then we could look for things that crossed yesterday or the day before, or however many bars back we wanted by filtering or sorting on this column. But right now I'm just going to say what has crossed today. I might actually just look for those only. So I'm going to make sure my filter is yes only in this column. I'm going to look for the let's see, the close cross moving average. So fast crossing slow today on the up direction. And I'm going to link to my template layout because this one does have the correct moving averages in, and we can see that these have been occurring. But in addition to there being a moving average cross, this template gives good information about seasonality. So I've already filtered by things that have crossed today, but what I really want to do is look for upcoming seasonality. So let me sort in the 1 month column. So it's saying what over the past 10 years, what has been good for the upcoming 30 days. I'm going to sort by the up column. So this will bring to the top of the list things that actually have good seasonality. Nothing really stands out here as being majorly good seasonality wise. This particular stock, UNFI, over the last 10 years has had 8 up years and 2 down years for the next 30 days with an average of 4% up. So, you know, potentially this is an interesting play. It did have the 820 cross here, so it's worth keeping on the list. But it's not, you know, an exceptional move in terms of average percent for 1 month. But it does have the 8 and 2, so seasonality wise over the last 10 years it's done okay for the next 30 days. So I'm going to put this one on the list. This is probably the only one I'm going to add on here. So it tells me this has come from the moving average cross with seasonality template, and I'm just going to say MA cross today. We know that already because that's the template it came from, but I'll just make a note in there anyway. And I'll come down through this list and maybe take a look at some others. You see the moving average crosses down here. Monster Beverage. In terms of seasonality, it has had 7 years out of the last 10 have been up years. The average has been a 0% gain, but so it means that obviously the down years, those 3 down years in the last 10, have percentage-wise been bigger losses than the up years, and on average you've got a 0% gain. However, you do have a moving average cross. Now, you know that a moving average cross on its own doesn't have a lot of statistical significance. That's been proven over and over again. If you just use a moving average cross to indicate entry points, you probably have a 50-50% chance of being right. But when you start combining it with seasonal behaviors, you can catch things that are coming into seasonal favor, and you can catch them when they're starting to make a move. So you don't sort of jump the gun and buy in too early. You wait until the stock actually proves that it's moving, and it has the potential for fulfilling its seasonal behavior. So these are really good things to keep a track of. And the other good thing about this is you get a very shortened list of stocks that have actually made that cross today. So out of the 3,000 odd stocks, we've only got 50 odd that had that cross today. So it really shortens that list down, and these are things that I can quickly scroll through, and if they have seasonal upcoming good seasonality, I can make a quick note, and therefore I'm never going to forget about them. If Monster Beverage continues to make a move, it's now on my watch list, and I'm just going to be reviewing that until I decide to take it off the list for whatever reason that might be. So right now it is doing, had a good day on Friday. So you've got this cross. You do have resistance levels in here, but you've been making slightly higher lows. So here's the base low down here. Then it's kind of come down again, didn't quite go as low as before, and now it's come down again, and it seems to have this volume gap here with the 820 cross. So something to just pay attention to as well. I might just add that to my favorites as well, and we'll just say I'll just say watch, just so it's on my list and I don't forget about it in the future. So we'll do that, save that watch list, and that's about what I wanted to do. It's a very quick review. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. So thanks for watching this, and use EdgeRater to run your weekly review, and I'll try and do this probably once every weekend, just so that we have some stocks to keep track of. And I can go back next weekend, take a look at some of the things that I looked at this week, see how they did, and make some more notes for things for next week. So that's it. But thanks for watching, and have a great weekend. Bye for now.